Hey, friends. I had an interesting moment today um, because I was involved. I am involved. I was working with some colleagues on planning an event, and the event is really kind of a. It's going to take place up in northern Michigan and basically be a conversation about how to a conversation about what the conversation needs to be or who needs to be participating in it in order to address some of the longstanding challenges facing the area. There's a challenge in the educational system. I mean, this is, not, I wouldn't say they're unique problems. Every nook and cranny of the country and the world has its own kind of unique challenges, but a lot of these are, challenges that are faced by other places in America as well. So, but it's a locality where my family has had a long time presence and we care, and we're talking about having a conversation that will look at that, and we'll look at it systemically. We'll look at the place in a systems change kind of way, and and the event is something that we've been imagining for some time. And today was the day when I was together with a couple of colleagues, just looking at what it's going to be, trying to name it, trying to narrow it down, right? Trying to actually form it. And we have a little time. We're not right up against the crunch time of needing to define everything, but it's, the summer's coming. We're not that far away. And I noticed a moment in my own experience that felt really similar to moments that I've experienced in creative projects, when it's like I there's this feeling of like, do I understand what this project is about? Does this project have a heart? Right? These are the questions that come to me when I'm writing, or when I am songwriting, or when I'm thinking about story. There's this way in which I can get very there's a moment when it feels like the picture is not emerging. The picture might not emerge. It's just I swear I don't know that I've ever had a project, ever done a project that didn't have that moment. And I hadn't thought of this process that we're in right now as being, and of course I knew it was a creative process and I knew it was a creative project in some ways, but because it's not a piece of theater or a song, I hadn't quite associated the same kind of creative template, the same creative journey that I've been on many, many times in, I think maybe more explicitly creative fields, because I just hadn't, I wouldn't have associated that. I wouldn't have necessarily projected Joseph Campbell's hero's journey onto this planning process. But man, it sure reared its head today. And it was, I'm sort of talking about it both to kind of capture it for myself and actually name what it is, because in the handful of other creative projects and little pieces that I've made in the last few months, I've had moments like this, and they've been far more doubt inducing, right? Like the moment of doubt, which is kind of what I would call this, I guess. Those moments of doubt I've done a couple of other projects recently where they were just super powerful. and caused me way more kind of internal discomfort before finally kind of deciding, I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm not backing off. I'm going to do this. And so what is happening, what happened today and what has happened kind of in the hours since I was on this meeting and sort of felt this energy coming in, is that I've kind of made it tangible and made it really clear, really vivid to myself that that's what this moment is. Because once I've named this moment, once I know that I'm looking at the moment of doubt in a creative process, I know how to deal with that. Like, that's something that I've been through so many times, and I it's not that every time is new. Everyone is a new challenge. Every one of these moments contains a kind of existential aspect to it, to varying sort of degrees of intensity depending on the stakes, right? Depending on how important, how sort of like invested we are in the project, what we feel the stakes are. But I've been through those kinds of moments so many times, and each one has that, I am a real thing. It always causes real doubt. The moment of doubt doesn't just become, it doesn't become something that you can simply diffuse by understanding where you are in the process. It remains a moment of challenge. It remains a moment that has to be moved through, transcended. However, whatever our way through is, we have to do it each time for real, anew. However, there's a part of us that once we know what we're looking at, there's a part of us that can step up and say, yes, this is a real moment of doubt. Yes, the doubt is real. Yes, the challenge is real. And although you've never faced this particular moment and this particular form of challenge, you've faced dozens, if not hundreds or thousands of these moments in all their different forms. And there's a pattern to how they work out. And there's a history of knowing that they work, that you can work them out, that you can overcome them, that you can either push through them if that's what's necessary, transcend them, release the doubt. It kind of depends. That's why it's a new challenge each time. It's not the same thing each time. There's no magic bullet where it's like, well, now I know how to get through a moment of doubt. I just do this. Doesn't really, at least in my experience, doesn't really work like that. The whole point of it being a new moment of doubt is that it requires something new of us, and that we have to discover what that is. And so I was both kind of, I was grateful for two reasons. One, because I kind of discovered what this is in the context of this process, where I could have, I think, because I'm not writing a play or writing a song or doing anything that's directly, like, literally a creative project, I could have easily mistaken this point in the process for something else. I could have mistaken it for just needing another idea to come through, or I don't know. I could have just missed that it is what it is. And an outgrowth of that, the second thing I'm grateful for is that now that I know that, it's like, I may not know exactly how to transcend this. I may not know exactly how to solve the issue, but I know the type of problem I'm solving. And the type of problem I'm solving is not an exterior one. It's not going to be the right idea that hits me. It's not going to be the a clarion call of inspiration that makes this that eradicates all doubt. It's going to be an internal decision to create, to give myself to this fully, and to accept the stakes of failure. That's one of the, at least in my experience, that's one of the things I have to do. I have to look at this, I have to look these moments in the eye, and I have to say, I have to reckon the cost of failure. In other words, I have to acknowledge it and say, this is what could happen if I don't succeed here. And then I have to decide that even given the cost of failure, this is worth my investment. I'm going to give myself to it while taking, and it has a little bit of that feeling of like, I've spoken about this a couple times recently, but like when Sadhguru talks about live your life in the context of mortality, live your life like you know you're going to die, right? Like we know we're going to die. What are we doing with our time given that? And so all of a sudden, the stakes of failure, which might feel so high, they might feel so overwhelming. I mean, in this case, I don't know that they do, although I can certainly go into some, like I can fantasize about this going wrong, right? Public event somehow, I don't know, being embarrassing, not effective, whatever. I'm not doing a lot of that, but I'm saying it's possible for me to envision that. But once I've really kind of looked at the stakes of failure and acknowledged them, then I have clarity about the stakes of success, and I have clarity about the reasons for success. And I kind of get an emotional turn that happens. And even, like when I recently wrote a song for a memorial, and I was like, man, I don't know if I can do this. Like, feels like a tall order. But there was just a moment in the process where I was literally in the shower thinking about it. And I was like, yeah, but I can do this. I'm gonna do this even if I don't succeed. And then as soon as I say that, I can immediately turn my attention to succeeding. I can immediately stop thinking about the stakes of failure, and I can just start focusing on what I need to do. So there's this interesting shift it's an internal shift, and I think the reason I felt maybe compelled to sort of unpack it on this post is because by recalling other moments that are like this, I can tap into that part of myself that already knows how this works. It's not that the moment won't be the same. The emotion, it's going to be subtly different. There's always going to be a new edge, a new step, a new challenge. But by knowing the kind of archetypal place in the process that I'm at, I can move from a place of feeling it as resistance to feeling it as the inevitable and in many ways a beautiful moment in the process where the stakes become real and my own investment goes from being like something that where I have kind of a nice idea, it feels like a nice idea, to being something really worth pursuing despite the stakes that failure might, be dangling in front of us. So this is me getting there. This is me getting there with that with that particular project, and kind of knowing, okay, it's not going to be anybody giving me the right idea. It's not even going to be me necessarily finding the right idea. It's going to be me making this shift, and the right ideas will show up. I have faith that they will, and they're important. That's going to be ultimately a manifestation of moving through this moment. It's going to be that the right kind of pieces fall together. The right lyrics end up on the page. But it's nice for me today, having sort of been through this and not quite clocked where I was in the moment, to be able to reflect and say, oh, I think I know where I am now. That makes it easier for me to go forward. So that's where I'm at today, people. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Let me know if this resonates. I'd love to hear how this plays in your own lives. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.